The massive alien space station floated in the darkness between stars like a crystal city made of light and metal. Inside its great halls, beings from across the galaxy had gathered for an important meeting. Some looked like walking trees with silver bark. Others resembled giant insects with rainbow wings, and a few were simply clouds of glowing gas that spoke through vibrations in the air. Ambassador Theknor stepped forward to address the crowd. His body was made of living crystal that caught and reflected the station's lights in brilliant patterns. When he spoke, his voice created musical tones that the translation devices turned into words everyone could understand. "My fellow council, members," he began. "I have spent 3 years studying the species called humans. Today I will share what my people have learned about them." The great hall fell silent. Even the gas clouds stopped swirling as everyone waited to hear the report. Humanity had been discovered only recently, and the Galactic Council needed to decide what to do about these new beings from a small blue planet. Theknor activated a holographic display that showed images of Earth and its people. The humans live on the third planet of a yellow star they call Sol. They have developed basic technology, including nuclear power and simple spacecraft. However, after careful observation, we have reached an important conclusion. He paused dramatically, letting the tension build in the room. Humans are children. They are not ready to join galactic civilization. Murmurs of agreement rippled through the assembly. The insect-like beings clicked their approval, while the gas clouds swirled in patterns that meant they were satisfied with this assessment. "Consider the evidence," Theknor continued, bringing up more images. "Humans spend enormous amounts of time and energy on activities they call sports. They gather in huge groups to watch other humans chase balls around fields. They scream and cheer as if these games matter more than scientific advancement or philosophical growth." The display showed packed stadiums full of humans celebrating and shouting. To the advanced alien civilizations watching, it looked like mass hysteria over nothing important. "Furthermore," the Crystal Ambassador added, "they create fictional stories for entertainment. Instead of focusing on educational content that improves their minds, they waste time on made-up adventures about imaginary people. They even pretend these stories are happening by acting them out on stages and recording devices." More images appeared showing human movies, books, and theater performances. The aliens found this behavior puzzling. Most advanced species had long ago abandoned fiction as a waste of mental resources. "But most concerning of all," Theknor said, his crystal body darkening with disapproval, "they fight among themselves constantly. Even though they are all the same species from the same planet, they divide into groups and argue about trivial differences. They create borders and governments and actually go to war over ideas and resources." The holographic display showed human conflicts throughout history, from ancient battles to modern warfare. The assembled aliens found this particularly disturbing since most civilized species had eliminated internal conflict millions of years ago. Admiral Vorth, a massive being that looked like an armored elephant with tentacles instead of a trunk, leaned forward in his floating chair. "What about their military capabilities? Our scouts detected nuclear weapons and space rockets." Theknor made a sound like wind chimes, laughing. "Primitive beyond belief. Their fastest spaceships barely reach 1% of light speed. Their most powerful weapons use simple chemical explosions or basic nuclear fusion. A single one of our patrol ships could defeat their entire planet without effort." "And their tactics?" asked another council member. "Completely individualistic," Theknor replied with disdain. "They cannot coordinate large-scale operations effectively. Each human group thinks differently and refuses to work together. They value personal glory over efficient cooperation. In a real galactic conflict, they would be utterly helpless." Though, Senior Arbiter, an ancient being whose race had evolved beyond physical form long ago, spoke with a voice like distant thunder. "The recommendation is clear. Humanity must remain isolated in their home system until they mature enough to join civilized society. How long will this take? Asked a delegate whose species looked like walking flowers. Based on the development patterns of other species, we estimate 500 years minimum, Theknor answered. They need time to outgrow their childish behaviors and learn proper galactic citizenship. All in favor of quarantine? The senior arbiter asked. Every member of the council voted yes. The decision was unanimous. Humanity would be isolated and ignored until they grew up enough to deserve attention from advanced civilizations. What none of the council members knew was that a tiny human probe was hiding in the shadows near their station. Dr. Michael Torres sat in a secret facility deep underground on Earth, watching and recording everything through the probe's advanced sensors. The probe was humanity's most advanced technology, built in complete secrecy and launched using a trajectory that no alien scout would notice. Torres had volunteered for this dangerous mission, knowing that humanity needed to understand how the galaxy viewed them. As he watched the aliens dismiss his species as children, he felt his jaw tighten with determination rather than anger. Within hours of the council meeting, the recording was transmitted back to Earth using quantum communication, methods that the aliens had never seen before. The message reached every major government, military command, and research facility on the planet and in the secret colonies that the alien scouts had somehow missed. The reaction was swift and unified in a way that would have shocked the Galactic Council if they had seen it. Instead of panic or despair, humanity's leaders felt something the aliens had not expected: pure motivation. President Williams called an emergency session of the Global Defense Initiative. Prime Minister Chen activated China's hidden space defense protocols. The Russian premier opened the secret Siberian research vaults. Every nation on Earth, despite their surface political differences, began implementing plans they had hoped never to use. Dr. Torres transmitted a final message to the hidden human colonies scattered throughout the solar system. Phase 1 is confirmed. They think we're children. Time to show them what human children can do when they're really angry. In facilities hidden beneath ice caps, inside hollowed-out asteroids, and in the depths of ocean trenches, humanity began preparing for something the galaxy had never seen before. They were going to prove that being called children was the worst mistake the aliens could have made. The war would not be fought with bigger ships or stronger weapons. It would be fought with the one thing the advanced galactic civilizations had forgotten how to do: think like children who refused to follow the rules adults expected them to obey. Deep beneath the Sahara Desert, construction robots worked day and night to finish the most important building in human history. The facility stretched for miles underground, hidden from any satellite or alien scout that might be watching Earth. Inside the main conference room, leaders from every nation sat around a circular table that could have hosted a small army. Director Amanda Price walked to the center of the room, her footsteps echoing in the vast chamber. She had been chosen to lead this project not because she was the strongest or smartest, but because she understood something crucial about human nature that the aliens had completely missed. 6 months ago, she began, the Galactic Council decided we were too childish to join their civilization. They voted to quarantine us like dangerous animals until we learned to behave like proper adults. General Robert Nash, whose face bore scars from humanity's last great war, stood up from his chair. Director, I've seen the alien technology reports. Their smallest patrol ship has more firepower than our entire space fleet. Their fastest vessels cross between stars like we cross between cities. How exactly do we fight beings who see us as primitive children? Director Price smiled, and everyone in the room felt a chill run down their spines. It was not a cruel smile, or an angry one. It was the smile of someone who had just figured out how to win a game that everyone else thought was impossible. General, you're absolutely right about their advantages. They have better ships, better weapons, and better technology than we could build in 100 years. But they made one terrible mistake when they studied us. She activated the room's holographic display, showing the alien council meeting they had secretly recorded. They watched our sports, our movies, and our wars, and they concluded that we think like children. What they didn't understand is that human children are the most dangerous opponents in the universe. Dr. Emma Sullivan, the physicist whose wild hair and coffee-stained clothes made her look like she had not slept in weeks, approached the display. The aliens think in straight lines, she explained. They see a problem. They build a bigger solution. Bigger ships, stronger weapons, more advanced technology. It's logical, efficient, and completely predictable. The holographic display changed to show human military history, from ancient battlefields to modern conflicts. But humans don't think in straight lines. We think in curves, loops, and directions that don't even exist yet. While they were learning to cooperate, we were learning to fight. While they were building larger armies, we were inventing new ways to make armies disappear. Admiral Lisa Chang of the Pacific Fleet leaned forward. You're talking about guerrilla warfare on a galactic scale. Not just guerrilla warfare, Dr. Sullivan replied. Ghost warfare, phantom warfare. We can't match their technology, so we don't try. Instead, we become something they can't understand, can't predict, and can't fight. Colonel Alex Rivera, head of Special Operations, raised his hand. What exactly are you proposing? Director Price retook control of the presentation. Project Phantom has 3 phases. Phase 1. We disappear. Every human facility, every ship, every signal goes completely silent. As far as the galaxy knows, humanity just became very quiet and harmless. The display showed Earth's major cities and space installations. We shut down all visible technology. We make our civilization look like it's going backward instead of forward. We become exactly as primitive as they think we are. And Phase 2? Asked President Williams. Phase 2. We prepare. While they think we're becoming more primitive, we'll be developing technologies they never imagined. Not bigger ships or stronger weapons, but completely different approaches to warfare that they won't see coming. Dr. Sullivan took over again. We've been working on theoretical projects that the aliens would consider impossible. Quantum stealth. Technology that doesn't just hide ships but makes them exist in multiple places at once. Dimensional storage that lets us build massive fleets in spaces smaller than a closet. Consciousness networking that lets human pilots think faster than any computer. And Phase 3? General Nash asked quietly. Director Price's smile became even more unsettling. Phase 3. We teach them why human children are the scariest thing in the universe. We show them what happens when Earth's kids decide to play for keeps. The room fell silent as everyone absorbed the implications. They were not just planning to defend Earth. They were planning to wage psychological warfare against beings who had lived for thousands of years and commanded technologies beyond human comprehension. This is insane, whispered the delegate from Australia. Exactly, Director Price replied. It's so insane that it's impossible, which means they'll never see it coming. The aliens eliminated insanity from their thinking millions of years ago. They call it childish and primitive. But insanity is humanity's greatest weapon. Over the following months, Earth began its great deception. Cities dimmed their lights and reduced their energy output. Space traffic decreased to almost nothing. Radio signals became simpler and less frequent. To any alien observer, it would appear that humanity was actually becoming more primitive rather than advancing. But beneath the surface, in hidden facilities around the world and throughout the solar system, humanity worked on projects that would have seemed like magic to any outside observer. Engineers designed ships that could phase in and out of reality. Scientists developed weapons that could make enemy vessels simply forget they existed. Military strategists planned battles that would be fought in dimensions the aliens had never discovered. Most importantly, human children were recruited for special training programs, not to become soldiers, but to become something far more dangerous. Imaginative thinkers who could conceive of solutions that adult minds, even human adult minds, would reject as impossible. Remember, Director Price told her staff as they watched. Construction robots build the first prototype stealth ships. We're not trying to beat the aliens at their own game. We're changing the rules of the game entirely. We're going to show them that the most advanced civilizations in the galaxy just got outplayed by the species they thought were too childish to matter. In space stations hidden in the asteroid belt, human crews began practicing maneuvers that defied physics. In laboratories buried under polar ice, scientists worked on technologies that would make alien computers experience nightmares. And in schools around the world, children learned mathematics and science through games that taught them to think in ways no adult alien mind could follow. The galaxy thought humanity was becoming more primitive. They had no idea that Earth's children were preparing to teach them the most important lesson in the universe. Never underestimate someone you think is beneath you. The alien patrol ship Eternal Judgment drifted through the Kepler system like a metal whale swimming through an ocean of stars. Captain Zethmar had commanded this vessel for over 200 years, and routine patrol missions no longer excited him. His crystal-like fingers moved across the control surfaces with practiced boredom as he conducted the standard checks that kept the galaxy safe and orderly. "Sector scan complete," reported his first officer. "No unauthorized vessels, no illegal colonies, no signs of primitive species attempting space travel." "Excellent," Zethmar replied without enthusiasm. "Proceed to next sector." The Eternal Judgment was a heavy cruiser, one of the most powerful ships in the hegemony fleet. It carried enough firepower to destroy small moons and advanced sensors that could detect a single metal coin from 3 star systems away. For routine patrol work, it was like using a sword to cut butter. "Sir," the sensor officer called out, "I'm getting some strange readings from the outer system." "Define strange." "Energy signatures that don't match any known technology. Very faint, almost like background radiation, but with patterns that suggest artificial origin." Captain Zethmar finally showed some interest. In 2 centuries of service, he had learned that strange readings usually meant either malfunctioning equipment or something worth investigating. "Set course for the anomaly. All sensors to maximum sensitivity." As the massive ship changed direction, none of the crew noticed the small shadow that detached itself from a nearby asteroid. The shadow was roughly ship-shaped, but seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. It followed the Eternal Judgment at a distance that should have been impossible to maintain without being detected. "Sir, the readings are getting stronger," the sensor officer reported. "But I still can't identify the source. It's like the energy is coming from empty space itself." "Impossible. Empty space doesn't generate organized energy patterns." "Yes, sir, but that's what the instruments are showing." Captain Zethmar was about to order a full stop for detailed analysis when something impossible happened. A voice spoke from the ship's communication system. A young human voice speaking in perfect hegemony standard. "Hello, Captain Zethmar. We need to talk." The bridge fell silent. Every member of the crew turned to stare at their captain, who was staring at the communication console in disbelief. "Identify yourself," Zethmar commanded, his voice carrying harmonics of authority and growing alarm. "We're the reason your patrol route just became much more interesting," the human voice replied. It sounded like a child, maybe 12 or 13 years old by human standards. "We're also the reason you're about to have a very bad day." "Impossible. This system is uninhabited. Our surveys confirmed no intelligent life within 50 light years." "Your surveys were looking for the wrong things, Captain. You were looking for big ships and loud signals and obvious technology. You weren't looking for us." The sensor officer's harmonic peaked with panic. "Sir, I'm reading multiple contacts surrounding our position, but they're not showing up on visual or targeting systems. The sensors know they're there, but they can't tell me what they are." "All weapons online," Zethmar ordered. "Target the source of that transmission." "I can't, sir. The signal appears to be coming from our own communication array." The human child's voice spoke again, and this time it sounded genuinely sad. "We really hoped you would choose to leave peacefully, Captain. We don't like fighting, but we're very good at it." "You dare threaten a hegemony vessel? Do you have any idea what you're dealing with? A heavy cruiser, sovereign class, commissioned 73 years ago, crew of 412, armed with plasma cannons and quantum torpedoes. Top speed, 47 times light, shield capacity, enough to survive a supernova. We know exactly what we're dealing with, Captain." The accuracy of the information sent chills through the crew. That data was classified at the highest levels of hegemony security. "How do you know our specifications?" "We know lots of things, Captain. We know you have a collection of rare crystals in your private quarters. We know your first officer is worried about his daughter's performance at the academy. We know your engineer is planning to retire next year to start a meditation garden." Every detail was correct. Captain Zethmar felt fear for the first time in decades. "What do you want?" "We want you to turn around and leave this system. We want you to report that your patrol found nothing unusual. And we want you to forget that this conversation ever happened. And if I refuse," the human child sighed, a sound full of genuine regret, "then we'll have to show you why the Galactic Council made a big mistake when they called us children." "Fire all weapons," Zethmar commanded. The ship's plasma cannons charged and fired, sending streams of superheated energy toward the coordinates where the transmission seemed to originate. The weapon struck empty space and dissipated harmlessly. "That was your one free shot, Captain. We won't give you another." Suddenly, the ship's lights began to flicker. Not the steady dimming of a power failure, but a rhythmic pulsing like a heartbeat. The flickering spelled out a message in the ancient hegemony battle code. "Surrender now." "Impossible," whispered the tactical officer. "Our power systems are completely isolated. Nothing should be able to control them remotely." "Your mistake," the human child's voice said gently, "is thinking that impossible means anything to us. We're human children, Captain. We specialize in impossible things." The lights went out completely. Emergency power should have activated within seconds, but it didn't. In the absolute darkness, the crew could hear something that made their blood freeze. The sound of children laughing. Not cruel laughter, just the innocent giggles of kids playing a game. "Sir?" The first officer's voice cracked with terror. "The laughing is coming from inside the ship. Seal all sections. Emergency lockdown." But the laughter continued, echoing through corridors that sensors confirmed were empty. Sometimes it seemed to come from the walls themselves, sometimes from rooms that were vacuum-sealed and had never contained any life forms. Then came the worst sound of all. Small footsteps, running through the corridors. The footsteps of children playing tag in the darkness of a military vessel in deep space. "Found you!" called a child's voice, and it was coming from right behind Captain Zethmar's chair. The captain spun around, but there was nothing there. Nothing. Visible, anyway. But he could feel a presence, something small and playful and utterly terrifying in its wrongness. "Game over, Captain," the child's voice whispered in his ear. "Time to go to sleep." The eternal judgment went silent. Not destroyed, not damaged, simply silent. Its engines stopped, its lights went dark, and its communication systems ceased all transmissions. The massive vessel drifted like a ghost ship through the empty space between stars. 3 days later, automated merchant sensors detected the ship floating at the edge of the system. Rescue teams found it intact, but completely empty. No crew, no bodies, no signs of struggle. Personal belongings remained exactly where they had been left. Meals sat half-finished in the dining halls. Duty logs showed normal entries right up, until the moment everyone simply vanished. The rescue team searched every compartment, every storage bay, every maintenance tunnel. They found no trace of the 412 crew members who had simply disappeared without leaving a single clue behind. The only unusual discovery was a message written in the ship's log, entered in the final moments before the crew vanished. It was written in a child's handwriting, in perfect hegemony standard. We told you to leave. Next time, maybe you'll listen to us. Love, Earth's children. By the time Admiral Vorth received the report, 2 more ships had disappeared in the same manner. The galaxy was about to learn that human children kept their promises, especially the scary ones. The emergency session of the Galactic Council took place aboard the most secure station in known space, surrounded by the largest defensive fleet ever assembled. Every major civilization had sent their best military minds and most advanced warships to address what the classified reports were calling the human problem. Dr. Kellivan, the Council's chief expert on alien psychology, stood before a room full of beings who had ruled the galaxy for millions of years. Today, for the first time in their long lives, they looked afraid. Honored Council members, Dr. Kellivan began. In the past 4 months, we have lost 17 major vessels and over 12,000 personnel. We have found no survivors, no wreckage that makes sense, and no explanation for how a species we classified as primitive children could make our most advanced warships simply disappear. Ambassador Theknor, his crystal body dim with stress fractures, interrupted. Perhaps we underestimated their technology. Maybe they developed faster than light travel in secret. No, Dr. Kellivan replied firmly. Our deep space monitors confirmed that humans still use chemical rockets for most of their space travel. Their fastest ships barely reach 1% of light speed. Whatever they're doing to our fleets, it's not conventional technology. Admiral Gorth, the massive elephant-like being who had replaced Admiral Vorth after the Kepler incident, leaned forward. Then what is it? Magic. Something far worse. Dr. Kellivan activated a holographic display showing the final moments of the destroyer's relentless pursuit. They're using psychological warfare at levels we never thought possible. The recording played, showing the ship's bridge during its last patrol. Everything appeared normal until the captain suddenly looked around in confusion. Did anyone else hear that? The captain asked. Hear what, sir? His first officer replied. It sounded like children laughing. The bridge crew exchanged worried glances. In the deep space, such sounds were completely impossible. Then they heard it again. Distant, echoing, definitely human children giggling as if they were playing a wonderful game. Sir, sensors show no other ships, no life signs, no explanation for those sounds. The laughter grew louder, not threatening but playful. It seemed to come from the walls, from empty corridors, from spaces that should have been vacuum. The crew began to panic as children's voices echoed through their warship. Seal all sections! Emergency protocols! The captain ordered. But the laughter continued, joined by the sound of small feet running through the halls. Then came a child's voice, clear and innocent. Ready or not, here we come. The recording ended in static. Every ship reports similar phenomena before disappearing, Admiral Gorth explained to the stunned council. Children's voices, laughter, sometimes singing. It's like invisible human children are playing games on our warships right before the crews vanish. But why? Asked the delegate from the Krillian swarm. Why would an advanced military force use such strange tactics? Dr. Kellivan brought up psychological profiles comparing galactic species to humans. Because they understand something we forgot long ago. Fear is the most powerful weapon in the universe, and children are the most frightening thing most intelligent beings can imagine. That's ridiculous, Theknor protested. Children are helpless, innocent, harmless. Exactly. And that's what makes them terrifying. Every species in this council evolved beyond what we call primitive emotions. We eliminated fear, superstition, and irrational responses because we saw them as obstacles to advancement. But humans kept all of those responses, while simultaneously developing advanced technology. The display showed human children at play, laughing, running, exploring, asking endless questions about everything around them. They understand fear because they still experience it. They understand the unknown because they still explore it. Most importantly, they know how to become the thing that frightens other beings most, the innocent predator that doesn't follow any rules adults understand. "You're saying they're deliberately trying to scare us?" asked a delegate whose species looked like walking trees. "I'm saying something much worse. They're not trying to win a war in any way we understand warfare. They're trying to teach us that we never understood what war actually was. Every battle we've ever fought followed rules. You attack, we defend, someone wins, someone loses, but human children don't follow rules. They make up new rules as they play." The chamber fell silent as the implications became clear. "How do you fight an enemy that treats war like a game?" the senior arbiter asked quietly. "You don't," Dr. Kelvan replied. "You can't defeat an opponent who refuses to play by any rules you understand. The humans aren't trying to conquer territory or control resources. They're trying to prove a point, that we never really understood them at all." At that moment, something impossible happened. The lights in the great chamber began to flicker in a pattern that spelled out a message in ancient galactic script. "We are watching." Security alarms activated throughout the station as guards rushed to find the source of the intrusion. But their searches found nothing. No unauthorized personnel, no foreign technology, no explanation for how someone could control the station's systems from the outside. Then came the sound that made every being in the chamber freeze with terror. Children laughing. Not cruel or mocking laughter, but the innocent giggles of kids who had just pulled off a wonderful prank. "Hello, Galactic Council," said a human child's voice, speaking through the chamber's communication system. "We thought it was time to introduce ourselves properly." Panic spread through the room as delegates searched for the source of the voice. Security forces surrounded the chamber, weapons ready, but there was nothing to target. "We know you're very scared," another child's voice added. "We're sorry about that. We don't like scaring people. But you called us children like it was something bad." "We tried to be nice," said a third voice. "We tried to play quietly in our own system and not bother anyone. But you decided we needed to be punished for being young. So we decided to show you something," the first voice continued. "We wanted to teach you what human children can do when grown-ups try to put us in timeout." Admiral Gorth found his voice. "What do you want? Terms for surrender? Territory? Resources?" The children's laughter returned, genuinely amused by the question. "We don't want anything from you, Admiral. We just wanted you to understand that you made a mistake. You thought being children made us weak. But human children are the strongest thing in the universe." "How?" Dr. Kelvan asked, his scientific curiosity overcoming his fear. "Because we're not afraid to try impossible things. Because we ask questions that don't have answers. Because we imagine solutions that adults would reject as silly or dangerous or wrong." The voice paused, and when it continued, it carried a note of genuine sadness. "You all used to be children once, a long time ago. But you grew up and forgot how to dream about impossible things. You became very smart and very powerful, but you also became very predictable. And predictable," said another child's voice, "is the most dangerous thing you can be when human children decide to play hide and seek." The voices faded away, leaving the chamber in stunned silence. The lights returned to normal. The security alarms stopped, and the station's systems returned to full function. But every being present understood that something fundamental had changed. The species they had dismissed as primitive children had just demonstrated that they could reach into the most secure facility in the galaxy and deliver a message without anyone being able to stop them. The war, they realized, had already begun, and humanity's children were winning by rules no adult mind could comprehend. Captain David Park floated in the command center of the stealth ship Phantom Wind, watching the largest military gathering in galactic history through sensors that shouldn't have been able to exist. 237 alien warships surrounded the Council station like a metal constellation, their weapons pointed outward to defend against an enemy they couldn't see. couldn't understand, and couldn't fight. "Sir," Lieutenant Maria Santos called from her station. "All human. Vessels are in position. Ghost Fleet reports ready for final phase." Park studied the tactical display, showing thousands of human ships that existed in probability states, invisible to alien sensors until they chose to become real. Each vessel was crewed by volunteers who understood they were about to change the course of galactic history forever. "Signal from Earth Command, sir," the communications officer reported. "Director Price sends her regards and reminds you that the children are watching." Park smiled at that. Across human space, in schools and homes and playgrounds, Earth's children were indeed watching through quantum-linked displays, seeing their older siblings prepared to teach the galaxy the most important lesson in the universe. "All ships," Park transmitted on the human fleet frequency. "This is what we trained for. Remember, we're not here to destroy them. We're here to show them that they never understood us at all." Begin Phase 5. The attack on the Council Station began not with weapons or explosions, but with music. Specifically, it began with Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, playing softly through every communication system in the alien fleet. At first, only a few beings noticed. Maintenance workers paused in their duties, tilting their heads in confusion. Security guards looked around suspiciously as the simple melody echoed through corridors that should have been filled only with the hum of machinery. "Sir," reported the tactical officer aboard the flagship Eternal Dominance, "our communication systems are broadcasting unauthorized signals." Admiral Gorth's harmonics peaked with alarm. "Shut them down! All communications offline." "I can't, sir. The systems are functioning normally in every way except they're playing that song. When I try to stop the music, the system plays it louder." Across the fleet, the same phenomenon occurred. Communication arrays designed to coordinate massive military operations now hummed children's lullabies. Defense computers that controlled weapons capable of destroying planets began displaying nursery rhymes in 17 different galactic languages. "This is psychological warfare," Admiral Gorth announced to his fleet. "Maintain discipline. They're trying to unnerve us before attack." That's when the lights went out. Not just on the flagship, but throughout the entire fleet. 237 vessels, representing the most advanced technology in the galaxy, floating in perfect darkness, while children's songs played from their own systems. "Emergency power," Gorth commanded. "It's not responding, sir. All systems show functional, but they won't obey commands. It's like the ship is choosing not to listen to us." In the darkness, a human child's voice spoke through every speaker on every ship simultaneously. "You called us childish. You said we weren't ready for the grown-up galaxy." Another child's voice joined in. "You said we needed to be quarantined until we learned to behave. You said we were too primitive, too competitive, too violent to join your perfect civilization," added a third voice. The voices multiplied until it sounded like thousands of human children speaking in perfect harmony. "But you know what? You were right. We are childish. We do play games, and we just taught the entire galaxy the most important game of all." Admiral Gorth broadcast on all emergency frequencies. "What do you want? Surrender? Territory? Name your demands." The children's laughter that followed wasn't cruel or mocking. It was genuinely delighted, as if adults had asked the most amusing question in the universe. "We don't want anything, Admiral. This was never about conquest or control or making you do what we wanted. This was about showing you something you forgot a very long time ago." The lights came back on. Every system that had been disabled suddenly functioned perfectly. But surrounding the alien fleet, visible on every sensor array, were thousands of human vessels. Not massive dreadnoughts or intimidating battleships, but sleek, elegant craft that seemed to bend light and space around themselves. You evolved, past competition, past conflict, past all the emotions you called primitive and childish. The children's voices continued. But when you did that, you forgot the most important lesson those emotions teach. Never underestimate someone you think
is beneath you.
Captain Park's voice replaced the children's chorus, broadcasting from the flagship of humanity's Shadow Fleet. Esteemed members of the Galactic Council, you asked for a demonstration of human readiness for galactic civilization. We're here to show you what we learned while you thought we were playing with toys. The human fleet moved in ways that violated every law of physics the aliens understood. Ships phased in and out of existence, traveled impossible distances in microseconds, and performed maneuvers that should have required technologies centuries beyond human capability. Impressive display, the senior arbiter acknowledged, his ancient voice carrying notes of grudging respect. But how? Our observations showed you lacked faster-than-light travel, advanced materials, energy manipulation systems. You observed what we wanted you to observe, Park replied calmly. While your scouts counted our rockets and measured our radio signals, human children were asking different questions. Questions like, what if we didn't try to copy your technology? What if we invented something completely different instead? The display screens throughout the alien fleet showed human research facilities that existed in folded dimensions, laboratories that operated in parallel universes, and manufacturing centers that built impossible devices using principles the aliens had never conceived. While you perfected technologies you already understood, we were playing with ideas you would have rejected as fantasy. Probability manipulation, dimensional engineering, consciousness networking, reality editing, children's games, you might call them. Dr. Kellivan's voice carried professional fascination despite his fear. Remarkable. You developed technologies based on imagination rather than logic. That's why our sensors couldn't detect you. You exist in states of possibility until you choose to become real? Exactly. And we learned it all from being the childish species you wanted to quarantine. From playing games where we asked, what if, instead of why not? From refusing to accept that something was impossible just because adults said it couldn't be done. The human fleet began to demonstrate their capabilities. Ships that existed in multiple locations simultaneously, weapons that convinced enemy vessels they had never been built, shields that worked by making attackers forget they wanted to fight. Your crews are safe, Park announced, as alien personnel found themselves standing in comfortable holding areas that definitely hadn't existed moments before. Consider it involuntary shore leave while we finish our presentation. What happens? Now? Admiral Gorth asked, his voice small and defeated. Do you claim our territories? Demand tribute? Force us to serve human interests? The children's laughter returned, warm and genuinely amused. Don't you understand yet? We don't want your galaxy. We just wanted to prove we could protect ourselves from it. You can keep your council, your territories, your perfectly ordered civilization where everyone follows the same rules and thinks the same thoughts. We'll stay in our little corner of space, Park added, playing our games, asking our impossible questions, and being as childish as we want to be. But remember this day when you think about quarantining other species, you consider primitive. The human fleet began to fade, not retreating, but simply choosing to exist in probability states that made them undetectable to conventional sensors. Sometimes came the final transmission, spoken by what sounded like every human child in the galaxy. The beings you dismiss as too young to matter are the ones who grow up to become something you never imagined was possible. And sometimes, added Captain Park's voice, the best way to show adults they're wrong is to play by rules they never knew existed. The humans vanished completely, leaving the alien fleet alone in space with their ships intact, their personnel unharmed, and their understanding of the universe forever changed. In the months that followed, humanity's status would be changed, from quarantined primitive species to protected independent civilization. The Galactic Council would establish new protocols for species that chose alternative development paths. Most importantly, a new category would be added to the xenological database: adaptive chaotic intelligence, species whose apparent primitiveness masks capabilities that exceed galactic standards through completely unpredictable means. The file would include a warning, updated annually. Under no circumstances should ACI species be underestimated, threatened, or classified as childish. The children are always listening, and they remember everything. On Earth, in schools and playgrounds around the world, human children continued to play their games, ask impossible questions, and imagine technologies that would give galactic civilizations nightmares for generations to come. After all, someone had to keep the universe interesting, and human children had just proven they were very, very good at their job.